So I was having a conversation with one of my mentees, and he was visibly upset. You could hear it in his tone. He was frustrated, angry, and I'm like, "Bro, what's going on?" So he started sharing about what's going on, and he was hurt. He was hurt by his friends because he saw on Instagram, their Instagram story, that they were together. They were having a great time. Looks like they had a game night. There was pizza. There was music being played, and he felt excluded. He felt like he was intentionally excluded from joining them from the fun or joining them with the game night. He also mentioned how they forgot his birthday, they didn't send him a happy birthday text, did hardly reach out to him, and he was hurt, right? He was angry, he was frustrated. So I'm listening, and he says like, "Hey B, like what are your thoughts? Can you give me some advice? Like what are you thinking?" My first initial thoughts were it's valid. Like what you're feeling is normal. You see your friends having a great time. They're supposed to be your people and you weren't invited. Understandable. But then I asked him, I was like, "All right, so do you remember their birthdays? And do you send them text messages on their birthdays or give them a call and say happy birthday?" He said, "Like sometimes, but I forget." I said, "Okay. Did you share how them not inviting you is making you feel?" And his answer was no. And so there's a couple things there. It's a good lesson for us is one, what I told my mentee is you're assuming that they intentionally excluded you. Like you're kind of assuming that they got together and were like, "Hey, we're going to have a game night and we're not going to invite this person," which may or may not have happened, but he's assuming, he's making assumptions. So what I advised him to do was, "Hey, one, go to them and share how this made you feel. Let them know, like, hey, when I saw the story, it made me feel hurt because you guys are supposed to be my people and I wasn't invited." The question with this, though, the question with relationships, with friendships, is that we all want the friend, right? We all want the friend that calls us when we're in a time of need, right? There's a crisis. We all want the friend that remembers our birthdays and sends us birthday cards or give us a call or text us. We all want the friend that in difficult times, they show up for us. The question isn't, do we want these types of friends? The question is, are we that type of friend? And so that's the advice I was giving my mentee is, do you do the things that you're expecting your friends to do for you? So are you sending the birthday text? Are you checking in on them during difficult times of their lives? Now, if you're listening to this podcast and your answer is yes, like I am reaching out. I'm reaching out to these friends on their birthdays. I send them cards. I get them a gift. I call them. I remember, difficult seasons of their life and I check in. So I have two things for you. One is share with your friends how them excluding you or not responding to your text messages makes you feel. Don't avoid this conversation. Like when we avoid these conversations, we just get bitter, right? Bitterness grows. They didn't text me back. They're not calling me. It's my birthday and they didn't text me. And we come up with a narrative in our minds that they have ill intent, right? That they intentionally didn't call us, intentionally didn't text us on our birthdays. Reach out. Let them know how you're feeling. Don't avoid the conflict because avoiding the conflict or the tense conversation is just going to lead to bitterness or more bitterness if you already have it. Second thing is if you're doing all this, right, you're reaching out, no response, and you're sharing how them not responding to you, them excluding you from certain things is hurting you, and they kind of just gave you the shrug. The sad truth is they might just not be your people. They might just not be for you, and that's okay. It's difficult, but they just might not be for you. So two things if you're the person who does reach out, you're checking in on your people with no responses or limited response. One, let them know how that makes you feel. But two, they might just not be your people. In this episode, I really want to focus on ownership, right? Personal responsibility. And another episode, we'll talk more about the external things, right? The friends who don't reach out or the friends who aren't as intentional. We'll talk about that and how to deal with that. With this one, though, I want to focus more on personal responsibility. What can we do to be a better friend? And friendship it's a worthy investment, right? But with every other investment, it's a sacrifice. So you invest into your Roth IRA and in the moment, it's kind of a sacrifice because you're putting money into this retirement account that could be in your pocket, right? You could go to the store and buy some clothes or whatever it is, but instead you're choosing to invest in your future. And so friendships are an investment, but friendships can also be difficult. And I think the older we get, the more complicated and difficult it can be, or how, rather, how we complicate things the older we get, especially when it comes to friendships. I remember also having a conversation with someone, and they're a few years older than I am, kids, wife, all this. And he was sharing how he doesn't need friends. He was like, I'm good. Like, no new friends. I'm straight. I'm good with just me and my wife and the kids. And I understand where he's coming from. I don't believe that's the wisest thing though. I got a story for you. It's my niece, right? She's beautiful, she's awesome. She's 6 years old. And cutest thing. But I'm at the park with her and she's running around doing her thing. And she sees another kid who she doesn't know. I don't know who the parent is. I've never seen them before. And they're both going down the slide, right? There's two slides, and my niece is going down one of them, and the kid is going down the other slide. They come down the slide at the same time, and they look at each other, and they get excited, right? They're jumping up and down. And then my niece says, "What's your name?" And the kid responds with what his name is. And my niece was like, "Oh, cool, awesome. Do you want to be friends?" Literally, like, "Do you want to be friends?" And the kid was like, "Yeah." And off they go, they run, they go down the slide again, they're doing the monkey bars, they're doing all this stuff. And it's this childlike spirit, right? This childlike behavior. And I'm a man of faith, so scripture tells us to be childlike, right? And I think this is partly what Jesus means when he says to be childlike. And I'm not going to get into, theology and all that, but to be childlike. How does this, you're probably thinking, how does this tie into friendships and relationships? The older we get, the more closed off we get, right? When we're young, when we're kids, hey, do you want to be my friend? Sure. Hey, you like Legos? I like Legos too. Let's play Legos. But when we get older, we get a little more standoffish, right? We're more skeptical. But what I'm suggesting is let's be more childlike. Let's be more like my niece who's like, hey, you seem like a cool dude. You like to lift. I like to lift. Let's go for a lift. Like, let's lift together. Let's do a workout, right? And I feel like we make it awkward the older we get with that. I'm sharing this because friendships are a worthy investment. And for the gentleman that I was having a conversation with, the guy I was having a conversation with who said, nah, I don't need friends. I don't need relationships. Like, I got my wife and I got my kids. I'm good. That's not what the studies say though. And so I want to share a couple of things, right? And this is an article called The Risk of No or Poor Relationships. So the risk of no or poor relationship. The first one is shorter lifespan. So if you're not in community, you're not living as long. Second is higher risk of physical health problems. So higher risk of physical health problems. 3, greater risk of mental health problems. Loneliness is a strong predictor of depression and anxiety. So if you're saying, I don't need no new friends, I'm good on my own, studies are saying otherwise. Last one, lower quality of life, just overall lower quality of life. So those are the risks or the negatives of not having friendships and healthy relationships. But the opposite is also true. If we have healthy relationships, the benefits are vast. They're the complete opposite of what the negative downsides are. So we live longer, we're happier, we're enjoying life. Now, that's not to say that there won't be hardships or tensions with friends and relationships, but there's a lot of fruit that comes from that if we don't avoid those difficult conversations, or we overcome our pride and we ask someone to be our friend, or we ask someone to, hey, let's hit the gym together, whatever it is. Again, this episode is about us, the personal responsibility. What can we do to be a better friend? What can we do to make friends? And so I just want to share a couple of things with you, things that I've learned and am learning in my life and my relationships. And the first thing is to listen to understand, not to respond. How many times have we heard this, right? Listen, active listening. Don't listen to just respond, but listen to understand. I love this quote. It says, most people listen to reply. Great friends listen to get it. Most people listen to reply. Great friends listen to get it. So listen to understand, not to respond, right? We all want to be heard. And we all have, we have many things to say. But if you want to be a great friend, listen to understand, not just to respond. The second thing I think is very helpful, it's helpful for me, and it's something I'm mindful of, is to respect boundaries. Respect boundaries, yours and theirs. So respect your boundaries and respect their boundaries. What does that look like practically? Saying no without guilt, right? So like, hey, do you want to do XYZ? You want to go to this concert? I don't, not this time around. Sorry, maybe next time. But also, if you ask your friend if they want to go to a concert, they want to do this certain thing, and they respond with no, not tonight, that's okay too, and respecting that. So again, it's not just what we want in friends, but it's, are we the friend that we want? This is a big one. This is a huge one. And it's celebrate their wins with joy. Celebrate your friends' wins with joy. Like when your friend's winning, they get the promotion. Let's go, like buy them, you take them out to dinner, celebrate, be excited for them winning. There's this term in psychology that I thought was interesting that explains exactly what I had just mentioned about celebrating with joy. And it's the term called capitalization. Capitalization. It's the interpersonal process of sharing good news with others to gain additional benefits, which can boost mood and strengthen relationships. What does that mean? It just means when someone celebrates your wins, that helps the relationship grow. It makes you feel closer to that person. I remember a few years ago, right? I was in school, I was in college, and one of my buddies came over to my apartment, and I was working on my grad degree, and I had taken out some loans so that I could go to grad school. And my boy came over and he was asking how I'm doing, what's new in my life. And I told him how I'm excited because I'm about to wrap up grad school and I'm almost done with paying off my debt, like my student loans. And I was going to pay it off in a few months. And his mood changed like that. He said, "Oh, you're about to pay off your debt?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro, like I'm about to pay it off, in a couple months." And his face went from like to this. So I went from excitement to see me to frowning because I'm about to get out of debt. And it was in that moment that I realized the power of celebrating our wins or celebrating each other's wins, because I definitely didn't feel celebrated with that. And so again, personal responsibility is I would love to have a friend, and I've been blessed with many friends who celebrate my wins. But the question is, am I celebrating my friends' wins? And that's a metric that you can follow to determine if you're being a great friend or not. So this episode, again, is more so about personal responsibility and taking ownership of what you can control, controlling the controllables. Some practical things, right? Super practical things about how to be intentional and how to be a great friend. And again, this can apply to romantic relationships, friendships, business relationships. Is one thing I learned, and I learned this from Jesse Itzler. You guys might know who he is, but big time entrepreneur. And it's writing handwritten letters. Write a letter to someone who's impacted you in your life or made a positive impact. This could be your wife, your spouse, your friend. And write a handwritten letter and send it to them and say, thank you for XYZ. Thank you for remembering my birthday. It made me feel special. That goes a very long way. Also, just being intentional, right? Everything I'm saying is just about being intentional. Send the birthday text out. Happy birthday, like thinking of you, love you, praying this year be the best year yet. Send them a Cash App for their birthday, right? Like, Starbucks on me, right? Videographer loves her chai, her pumpkin spice chai. Like, enjoy a pumpkin spice chai on me. Happy birthday, I love you. So it's not about what can you do for me, but it's what can I do for you? How can we serve our friends? So we all want the friend who remembers our big days, celebrates our big days, is there for us on our low days. The question isn't if we want that kind of friend. The question is, are we that kind of friend? And so with that, being said, everybody, that's the episode. I appreciate you for tuning in. And if this added value to you, please like, share, subscribe, and send it to a friend. Peace.